The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network.
Wouldn't it be great to connect with other podcast listeners at an in-person event? Join us for Awakened Lifestyle Expo, August 22nd, 23rd in Orange County, California. Shop among 60 conscious brands and be inspired at over 30 workshops led by some of the most fascinating voices in the consciousness movement today, including Daryl Anka, William Henry, JJ Brighton, and many more. Get 10% off tickets by using the discount code LIMITLESS at awakenedlifestyleexpo.com.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, host of the Live Like Eden podcast. What do you do when your whole life flips upside down? Are you questioning everything, lost in chaos, or yearning for life's deeper meaning? I've been there, deep in the thick of it, unraveling my own awakening mess for over 20 years. Now I'm here to help you through yours. I share no-nonsense weekly wake-ups, cutting through the ego's illusions to wake you up to your own spiritual wisdom. No mountaintop bliss needed here, just practical tools, insights, and real-life experience to save you time. Plus, a much-needed laugh when we're all losing it. Let's dive into this fresh new episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the summer. In the last solo episode I did, it was titled The Dreamer of the Dream, right? And the question I was posing is, are we the dreamer of the dream? Are we making this all up as A Course in Miracles is suggesting? And if we are the dreamer of the dream, is it possible that we can choose to shift the way we see this dream from the nightmarish, hellish, dramatic situation that we can find ourselves in into a more peaceful, happier dream? Is that possible? I'm going to ask you the question. Do you think it's possible that you could shift how you see your life, whether you believe it's a dream or not? Can you shift how you see your life? Is there a way to do that? And I thought we'd expand on this topic today. And I want to bridge into the topic of communication. The main source of our life is communicating, right? That's the only way we get through the day is to communicate in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through our actual voice, texting, emailing. It's constant communication in the world. But do you ever find yourself walking on eggshells? Right? Walking on eggshells around certain people in your life, whether it's personal or professional. I really want to get into this today because I think communication is one of the main drivers of the world. And this is going to be solely about how to navigate broken personal or professional communication. You can apply this to whatever communication issues you might be experiencing in your own life. And this can be you're the problem or people around you are the problem. But I would argue that in any relationship, it takes two to tango, right? It takes two of us, right, to perceive this situation. And the problem usually is that we aren't perceiving the situation the same. At least this is what I have found in my own life, in my family, with my friends, in any work-related issue I've ever had in my life. The issue is usually that we're on different pages. We're not seeing the same way. So what I'd like to do today is break this show down into first talking about the types of communication issues that are out there. The different ways that we can communicate externally and internally, right? There's all these different ways to communicate. And then I want to look at how we can solve those problems and how we typically solve these problems in the world. We're going to go to psychologists. We're going to go to therapy. That's typically how we handle these situations. We seek out advice from a counselor or something along those lines. But at the end of the show, I want to talk about another possibility. Why do we really have such a communication breakdown here? There's such a communication breakdown all the time. we're never on the same page. And you can look at this personally, professionally, in your communities, in larger groups, in global groups. And then you look at countries and collectively, there's always a problem with communication. It's like things get lost in translation, right? With all the different languages in the world. But what is the real issue? Like, I always love to think about these things from a much deeper perspective. And how can we really try to solve this problem so that we live a little happier, right? And we understand people in a different way. Maybe we can learn to have more compassion and empathy as we live our lives as long as we're going to be here. So first, let's look at the different types of communication and the way that people communicate. And you can start looking at these and thinking about it as I'm speaking. But what kind of a communicator are you? You know, there's different types of people. There's introverts and extroverts, right? And introverts typically take communication and it's difficult for them. They don't really want to participate in any kind of conflict. Are you an introvert? Or are you in a relationship of any kind, personal or professional, with an introvert where they might have difficulty speaking up? And even though they may know what's going on, they just don't want to interact at all. They kind of go inward. And sometimes when people go inward, it can seem like they're avoiding an issue, or maybe they're being passive aggressive. Or sometimes to the outsider looking in, they think it's purposeful. You know, if we're all the dreamer of our own dream, then we're all projecting our own imagery onto someone else, correct? I mean, no matter what we're doing, if we're in control of seeing the external world, we're going to see it how we've experienced it. We're going to put labels on people because of some past experience we've had with them or someone else. It may not even be with that person, but we're going to take a past event and I'm going to project it onto someone else, because I'm living in the past. That's so common, right? Most of us are only living and remembering the experiences that we've had in the past, and we are putting them on the present moment, even though the past situation is no longer there. It's completely gone. For example, have you ever found yourself in a relationship, let's say a personal one, let's say it's a romantic relationship, and you had an instance with an ex-wife, an ex-husband, an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, you know, whatever. In that situation that you experienced with them was not good. And so you hold on to that experience that you had. And now when you enter a new relationship, you are now guarded because of that experience. For example, if somebody betrayed you in some way, whatever it is, however they lied to you, they cheated on you, they went out and did something behind your back, they stole from you, whatever. They did something to betray you. And now you have this block up and you don't trust people. You've lost total trust in people. And now you're entering a new relationship and you're really excited about this relationship, right? But now this new relationship, you're pulling in this past incident and projecting it onto this new relationship in person that has never done anything to you. So it's like there's your past. You're just projecting the past onto a new person. And what happens? You can start creating drama and accusations at a person that has done none of this. So now this person is just the receiver of a past situation that they had nothing to do with. And they start feeling like they're guilty of something they didn't even do, right? Or they might start feeling like I'm never going to please this person because they're already accusing me of things that have never happened. And not everybody's communicating their past in the present, right? Most of us, if something's happened in the past, we either completely ignore it or we're just totally dwelling on it. And all we talk about is the past. And there I am in my victimhood. I'm going to project this onto this person and every other person that I meet in the future. So you can see how, as if we're the dreamer of the dream, and we're taking all of our dreams, all the moments that we have here with anyone else in our life, any relationship that we've been in, and we can easily take that and put it into a present situation. And it may have nothing to do with what's actually happening now. So I mentioned the introverts, people that pull inward. They're not that comfortable discussing, and I get it. It's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to work through issues because especially if you're a sensitive type person or you're empathic and you feel emotion. How many of you listening like feel the emotion of someone? You feel anger and you feel yuck and it starts to like pull on your physical body. It's like you feel like quicksand just going through your veins and it's like your stomach is sinking down to your toes. You know what I'm talking about. The last thing you want to do is have a conversation with someone when you're feeling that, you know? But what if you had that conversation in the middle of what you're feeling, and as you approached it in a way that could uplift the situation, you started to notice that that energetic feeling in your body is dissipating? That's a possibility. The extroverts, right, on the other hand, these are people who have diarrhea out the mouth sometimes. Right? Maybe they're incredibly blunt and forward and they jump to conclusions, maybe sometimes too quickly. Maybe sometimes I know this because I'm speaking from experience. Just blurting out before we, really sit back and analyze the situation. Or sometimes people want to really give you a piece of their mind, right? They want you to know how awful you've made them feel. And now I'm here to teach you a lesson, right? How many of you relate to that or have been around people like that? Where suddenly now you are being taught that what you did was wrong and you're being taught by the authority, whoever that is, right? The person telling you is now deemed the authority on the matter. Have you been in conversations like this before? Where you didn't realize there was a parameter set up that there was somebody in charge of the conversation. It's like that person just told themselves, well, I'm going to be the guardian of the conversation. You know? But extroverts will typically not be afraid to say anything. They just come out and say it. They want a resolution too. And there's no right or wrong here. I am not pointing that one of these is better than the other. It's just different ways that people communicate. Some people would argue that the angry person who's screaming at everybody, that's not the right way to handle it. It seems like it's not, right? It's kind of over the top. But on the other hand, you at least know where this person's coming from. It might sound terrible. The delivery might be awful. It might look horrible in reality, but you know where the person's coming from. And is there a little bit of, well, at least I don't have to guess. You know? But on the extreme side of that, sometimes when people are angry, they say things they don't really mean, right? They're so mad and they're so pissed off at what somebody did to them that they're willing to go to the next level, right? It's almost like the ego just goes, oh, you did that to me. Now I'm going to one up you, right? Look at the ego. You attacked me. Now I'm going to attack you times 1,000. And you can see this in the world right now with wars and dropping bombs, You could look anytime throughout recent history or past history and what happens. Countries are doing this constantly. What do we learn from this? I don't know. Everybody's in defense mode, right? Total protection, guarding themselves. And this is really the projection of our own ego identity, the collective ego protecting itself, right? It's putting up the defense. So introverts and extroverts, everybody's got their own style of communication. Then the passive aggressive person is the one that comes across like, I'm not going to speak to you. I am so mad at you, but I'm not going to speak. Now, this could be because they're incapable of speaking, they don't feel comfortable speaking, or they're deliberately not speaking, right? It's almost like an act of, I'll show you. I'm going to punish you. But then there's people who literally they're so distraught, they don't know how to communicate. So they just bottle up. Now there's so many levels of behavior, right? So many different ways that we can bottle up and not talk and for different reasons. But have you ever been around somebody who's deliberately not speaking to you? Whether it's in your professional life, let's say like a boss, right? You have a boss at work and they stop communicating with you. They stop responding to your emails. They don't include you in on meetings. And they're deliberately keeping you out of the circle or the team that you were currently part of. And you have no idea what the hell is happening. But there's like a message beneath the message, right? You're no longer wanted in the circle. You've done something I don't like, and I'm punishing you now. But I'm not willing to tell you what you did or why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I mean, it seems so crazy, right? That we go to this extreme, that the dreamer of the dream goes to these dramatic extremes. And I'm sure as you're listening to this, you can think of a million things in your own life where you've seen all these different scenarios playing out 24/7. I mean, if you've been in a committed relationship of any kind, if you've been with someone long enough, you will have communication issues, right? I mean, that's just normal. Everybody's got their own style of communicating. It's pretty rare that two people come together and they just like never have an issue. You know, like people have been married forever and say they've never had issues. I'm like, wow, how? You know, is somebody not being totally honest here? You know, I don't know. Maybe they're just lucky. I don't know. But typically we all have issues in relationships. And if you're being honest, you've been married or you've been with somebody long enough, you know there's issues. There's always issues. And sometimes you just don't see eye to eye. And you're coming from completely different worlds. You might have been brought up in completely different ways, in different cultures, different environments. And so your perception of any given situation is different. And not only that, two people can be in the same room and perceive the conversation completely differently, right? And it's awful. It's like, wait, what? I'm seeing it this way. I didn't even say that. Like, for example, what's one thing that is a major problem with communication between two or more people? Because we project, right? We're the dreamer of the dream, and we're basing everything that we do in life on a past experience, typically. It's very rare you're going to meet anybody who's just totally present in the now and erases the past, right? It's rare. We're human. We do it. Everybody does it. And so somebody says something to you, and you find it highly offensive. You're offended at what they said. Now, the person that said something to you had no intention of offending you. They just stated something they saw. And you pulled something of the past that maybe you related to that you found it offensive. This will typically happen, right? Because the person that's receiving the information has a whole story, a lineage of stories that they've made up in their life. And now it's in the present moment and it's blowing up even larger than it was before. So then you have this problem. And now you have a situation because the person receiving the information is interpreting it in their own way. When in fact, the person that delivered the message had no ill will or evil intent or anything like that when they delivered the message. Again, it's like lost in translation. And now what happens? You're at odds with the other person because you're highly offended. The other person doesn't understand what just happened. And then this can become a major drama. Depending on who the two people are or more people, there could be more involved. How is each person now going to either remedy this situation or not? A lot of times what happens, people start separating themselves from each other and not talking. Maybe one person is trying to work it out and trying to solve the problem, and somebody's saying, I'm not having it. I don't want to talk to you. And then this whole facade, right? The theatrics that we all play of the ego personality projecting out onto the stage in the world is just a constant dance. And then these can become real problems. We have the passive aggressive nature. You can begin to emotionally withdraw from people. You start blaming the other person. Everything's a blame game. You know, the weaponized silence is a big one. It's just not worth talking about sometimes, right? And people have this stance like, what's the point? What is the point?
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you are the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
This summer, soccer is here, and so are the watch parties. And Uber Eats has your game day essentials covered. Everything you need to keep your crowd happy. Delivered straight to your door. Get wings, pizza, chips, dips, fresh ingredients, and more. Keep the soccer going and all your game day essentials flowing. Order in so you can lock in for the games. Only on Uber Eats for a limited time.
Do you hear that? Sounds like breakfast is ready. Because Quaker's coming in hot with morning nutrition. 100% whole grain oats and a good source of fiber to fuel the rhythm of your morning and kickstart your day. And that sounds absolutely delicious. Fuel to start whatever's next. Quaker, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26.
So what are ways that we in this world deal with communication issues? If it's somebody that you care about, let's say your family has terrible communication and you decide that you're going to go see a family therapist, right? And you go to family therapy and there's typically like maybe one person that's kind of the difficult one to talk to, or maybe there's a couple of them and they feel like they're getting ganged up on, right? In the therapy. So they want no part of this, if you're the person that everyone's complaining about, what do you typically want to do? You want to run from that situation. The nervous system says, fight or flight, I'm out of here. You all are picking on me and I don't like this setup. I don't like being set up like this, so I'm out. I want nothing to do with it. Maybe you have some people who are willing to take a look at what they're doing. And if this many people around me are having issues with me, I want to know why so that I can fix it, so that I can work on it. And so therapy, counseling, going to all kinds of different communication experts can help us in everyday life here in the world. And one of my favorite things is watching these dating shows. There's one that is so funny to me. It's like Married at First Sight. They get married and have never met each other. It's like, who would ever do this, right? But anyway, the show goes on and they make them go to a therapist. They make them go to marriage counseling. And I always think it's really funny because people don't realize what they're doing. They don't really see it. They don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to admit what they're doing. They're quite comfortable in how they act. But what they don't realize is their behavior is affecting the other person, or it's affecting people around them. And this is hard to admit, right? It's hard to admit if we are doing something that is affecting people around us. We don't want to admit that and then say, oh, I'm wrong. I need to do something. Like sometimes just acknowledging that is a hard thing to do. But in order to fix anything, you kind of got to look at the problem. The way that most people handle this in life is to go to therapy, right? Most people get a therapist and start working on it and start figuring out what the problems are. Maybe it's because the two people involved or the family involved came from very different backgrounds, right? Just came from a completely different world. And now they're just having a lot of issues. And they're trying to figure out how to bridge this gap. How do we understand one another and allow each other to be who we are? Because the tendency for the ego is just to separate, tell the other person they're wrong. Well, you're wrong, I'm right. When you have an argument with someone, there's something inside that wants to attack the other person, right? You can feel it. It's like, oh, that person's wrong. I want to show them that I'm right. And that's the ego talking. It wants validation. It wants to judge. It wants to be above the other person. So if you notice that in yourself, and I'm sure anybody listening can remember a time when you really wanted to be right in the argument that you were having with the other person. You're like, I'm going to win this one. I'm going to make my point and I'm going to show them they're wrong. It's true, right? We've all done it. But what if therapy and the practical things that we can do in the world to try to help ourselves have better communication with personal loved ones and people in the work environment, what if those are just Band-Aids? What if that's not the real solution? I mean, we think it's a solution here. I'm not knocking it. I think it's a very helpful tool. But what if there's more to this story? What if there is something so beyond all of it? We just don't even see it. That's the real problem for why we have no communication. Maybe there's something we're missing, and maybe it's purposeful. Maybe just like in the last episode, I'm talking about being the dreamer of the dream. There's an ability for us to shift this dream from the constant arguing, communication gaps, tension, resentment, all the things that happen in relationships, and shift out of that into something that actually works. I wanted to start this last section with a line from A Course in Miracles that I came across recently that I laughed out loud because I think it makes perfect sense. And this is what it says. It's in chapter 14, and the title of the chapter is Teaching for Truth. It's one line that just made a big light bulb in my head go off, and it says this: you taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your Creator. I'm going to read it one more time. You taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your Creator. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. If we're the dreamer of the dream, just as A Course in Miracles is teaching, then we are projecting everything out, right? Just like I mentioned in the beginning. All of our past experiences, we're holding on tightly to those stories, even though they're gone, and we project them onto new people in our life, right? We're projecting the movie screen onto anyone and everyone. So if we're doing that as the dreamer of the dream, if we're projecting all of our issues, then I would argue that these are communication issues. These are communication barriers, lack of communication, however you want to phrase it, on to the world stage around us. And the reason that that's happening is because we do not communicate with our Creator. That makes sense to me. Because we lack communication with the source of who we are, or the Spirit or Holy Spirit, or whatever terms you want to use, it doesn't matter. Whether you use the universe, I like Spirit, it's just simple, it's uplifting sounding to me. Consciousness, God, anything, right? It doesn't matter. Give it a name. We don't communicate directly with the source. So because we have terrible communication with our own source, we're terrible, we suck at it, that we're now projecting that lack of communication with our true self, and we're projecting it out onto everyone else. And therefore, all the communication in the world that we see is jumbled. It makes no sense. It bounces around all the time. There's no clarity. There's no certainty. Everything is unsettling and crumbling, and it's like a little earthquake going off all the time. So how can we reestablish a relationship, a personal relationship with Spirit? And every single person has the ability to do this on their own. It's not rocket science. You don't have to go searching out in the world to look for the relationship. It's right within. And it's just a simple acknowledgement. Spirit is right here to help me. It's knocking on my door all the time. It's calling me constantly, and I'm just looking out in the world. I'm projecting my lack of communication with Spirit onto everybody else and then blaming them for it. When really, let's flip this upside down and say, okay, well, I'd love to improve my relationships in my life. Let's say you're somebody right now listening who's really struggling with a relationship. It doesn't matter what type of relationship that is, but just pick one in your head. Okay, I'm really struggling in a relationship with my boss or with my son or with my friend or with my wife or my husband. The relationship is now so stagnant. It's plummeting. It seems that there's no hope. We've come to an impasse, let's say, where every time you go to speak, it's a blow up. And there's the eggshells, right? You're walking on those eggshells again and again and again. Now you're afraid to speak. Now it's gotten so bad you're afraid to even talk because it's going to end in another argument. And it's going to end in separating. It's going to end in feeling this angst, like nothing's working. And this is when people give up on that relationship, whatever type of relationship it is. This is when we throw in the towel. And then we move on and we separate from that person. Maybe we get a new job. We find a new group of friends. We remarry. But guess what? We take that experience from the past because our ego mind wants to hold on to the past story. And we take that and we move it into the new relationship that we form in the future. And we start projecting that discontent and that lack of communication that we had, or that dysfunctional communication that we had with the past person, and now we put it into the new relationship. And then when the new relationship starts doing the same damn thing, right? What do? Now we blame this new person. Now I'm blaming the new person for our communication struggles. But what's the fix? You could go to therapy, right? Go to therapy with someone new. That might help. You could seek out help from a pastor, a minister. Maybe you go to church, you talk to the priest, whatever. You could seek spiritual guidance. You could do all kinds of stuff. Or you could go within, directly to the source of spirit, and ask spirit for help. I am not seeing this through your eyes. I am not seeing this clearly at all. I'm clearly projecting all of my past drama and trauma and bad experiences onto this new thing. And I want to see it differently. I want nothing more than to be at peace with this new relationship and not project my old baggage onto them. And I'm asking you for guidance. And I'm open to whatever guidance I feel coming through. I'm open to seeing it in a completely new way. And in order to do this, we have to take what? Personal responsibility. We have to take personal responsibility for the fact that we've been projecting all this time, that we've been living in that bad projection, right, of the dreamer of the dream. But we can shift it. We can always shift any situation and any relationship that we have. It doesn't even mean that the other person has to do what you're doing. The other person might be defiantly against working on the communication, but that doesn't mean it should stop you. You can learn how to connect with spirit and then see this person in a new way. You can learn to listen better, to try to understand the other person's perspective. You can get into a much deeper connection with spirit and stop judging the other person, just watching for a while, allowing the other person to be who they are. For example, if your significant other is having a bad day, I know that everybody listening can relate. A person that you've been in a relationship with has had a bad day. And the way that this person handled the bad day was that they carried this heaviness around them. And they were extremely depressed. And the shoulders were sinking. And the facial expression was falling down, right? The sadness was sinking in. And in the sadness, there was a little bit of anger, right? Just frustration. It was just coming off of them. And they didn't want to talk about it. And they moped around you. They moped around the house, and your initial reaction to this, because you were bringing your past experiences either with them or someone else, and you immediately attack them. It doesn't have to be a verbal attack, but in your mind, you're going, oh, why are they acting like that? I don't want to be around this. It's so bad. I don't like it. Right? It's not fun to be around other people when they feel heavy. And the tendency for the ego is the ego loves company. The ego loves it. That the ego will match the behavior and just get right into that wallowing behavior with them. And then all of a sudden, you might have been in a good mood, but now you find that you feel like you're going right into that space with your significant other. Or the person that's sitting there feeling bad, now you feel bad. And now you're blaming the other person because they felt bad and they're making you feel bad, so you're blaming them. But if you're tapping into spirit and you really want to see this differently, what would spirit do with somebody who is not feeling well? Would spirit try to feel bad with them? Or would spirit extend love, compassion, empathy, and support to the other person? It seems that spirit is so non-judgmental, all-encompassing love and peace that maybe instead of mirroring the other person's depression, you hold a space, a much higher frequency, or a space of love and compassion, and you give the person a hug. If the person doesn't want a hug, you just look at them and say, I know it's been a rough day. I totally understand. And I'm here if you need me. And then you keep yourself in that loving space. Because what typically happens is it's uncomfortable, right? Energy, when it's heavy, is uncomfortable. And many of us, when that happens, we start becoming that quicksand, like I said earlier, and we start sinking down with the other person. But spirit would say differently. It would say, wake up. There's no need to do that. You can shine a light for anybody who's suffering. You can extend love and peace at any moment of any day. Even with all the past drama you may have with people in your personal life or your professional life, whatever dysfunctional communication and the walking on eggshells that you may have done can be erased in a moment's notice. You can join together with the other person in love instantly, and it erases anything of the past or the future. And in one moment, you feel this connection with the other person. And maybe the other person feels that love coming from spirit. Because if you're extending love from spirit, it's not like it's really coming from us. It's coming from this greater essence, right? It's like it's moving through us and extending outward to remind everyone that there's another way. There's another loving, peaceful, calm, happy way to live. And instead of mirroring those people around us that we care about, or mirroring our colleagues when they're having a bad day, we provide the space to uplift them. Like if you're in a working environment and everyone at work is now down on the job or everybody's panicked and worried, what does that do? Does anybody feel like they want to go to work and enjoy the day? Maybe you can shift that energy amongst your colleagues. Maybe you can bring spirit in and shine that light for everybody else. You don't have to say that's what you're doing. It's not like you go, I'm going to shine spirit's light now. No, you just smile. You uplift someone. You tell them you're there for them. You tell them you understand. And just as this one line in A Course in Miracles that I'll say one more time because I love it so much, you taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your creator. We have to take personal responsibility that we choose not to connect with spirit. Spirit is already there. It's just a choice. And we can choose it any time we wish. If we think we made the wrong choice in one moment, we can make the right choice the next time. It's a work in progress. Life is a work in progress. We're constantly shifting from the ego and realizing there's another way. This goes on and back and forth until one day we're tired of the back and forth. We're tired of the teeter-totter, and we realize that it's so much easier. Life flows so much better when we just hand it all over to something greater. We let life lead us and stop trying to muscle our way through it. And everything falls into place. It always does. Even if the mind slips in and tries to tell us that's not the case, you can always look at any given moment and say, am I okay in this moment? Is everything right now, no matter what I think I'm perceiving in the world around me, am I okay? Try it for yourself. Try it when you're in an argument with a loved one. Try it when you're in the next dysfunctional communication with anybody around you. And underneath the surface drama and the angst and the back and forth and the tug of war that you think you're doing, ask yourself, am I okay underneath all of this drama? Is there a way out? Am I sensing that there's a calmer way to be, even right here? And the next time that you have an argument or you're in some new quarrel with somebody, because it happens all the time, right? And sometimes it's not actually physically happening or verbally happening. You're having an attack thought in your mind about someone else. So you can do this on many levels, whether it's actually happening or you're attacking and imagining that it's happening. Notice when you're doing it. Notice when you want to separate and attack the other person. Notice when you want to be right. And when that's happening, you know it's coming from the ego. You know the ego wants to keep that dysfunctional relationship and communication away from the source. So if we want to really solve our communication issues, if we want to really get to the bottom of it, beyond therapy, beyond holding people accountable, beyond holding ourselves accountable, maybe it's time we go deeper. Maybe there's another answer. And maybe it's not as complicated and difficult as we make it in the world. Maybe, just maybe, it's as simple as creating that relationship with spirit. So I hope you all enjoyed this show. I hope that if you're walking on eggshells around people in your life, that maybe you can look at it in a new way. especially if it keeps happening. If you keep having the same issues with people, think maybe there's something I'm missing. Can I look at this a different way? How can I do the work on my own? And it can be completely internal. Nobody has to know that you're doing this. You don't have to announce it. You can just go within yourself and ask for guidance from that higher power, whatever you want to call it, to see this situation and this communication gap that you're having differently. So if any of you have questions, comments, you want to reach out and tell me your insights, or you've got some story to share with me, what's going on in your personal life with spirit, I would love to hear it. You can reach out to me anytime. You can message me on Instagram at Live Like Eden, or you can get on my website at livelikeeden.com and send me a note. I always love hearing from you. I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I will see you all next time. That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. If it resonated, please share, follow, and drop a review with your takeaways. It really means a lot. Visit my website at livelikeeden.com to subscribe for weekly reminders and blogs, or sign up for a free 30-minute consult to explore one-on-one guidance sessions if you're really struggling in Awakening's darkness. Take my Awakening quiz to get a personal podcast playlist that meets you exactly where you're at. See you next week for another deep dive.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.